My name is Jen, and I am on a journey in order to break free from the destructive patterns of disordered eating and in order to embrace a nourishing lifestyle. My roadmap can be described using an acronym of the word Nourisher. So I'm doing daily video blog posts in order to encourage you, equip you, and keep you up to date on my progress. If this content is helpful or encouraging to you, please consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and sharing with others. It is my deep desire that these videos would help to ignite nourishing transformations in us all. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to day 23 of my Nourisher Check-ins. I'm so glad to have you back with me today. It was a big day, so let's dive right in. Today, for noticing my emotions, there were lots of emotions at play. Everything from elation, joy, satisfaction, encouragement, all the way to what felt like the type of pain or sadness or grief that is like really core to you, if that makes sense. Something that felt like it really touched a really deep place with sadness and grief. And what was the most encouraging thing about my whole day for me was that I was able to be in that place of sadness, not binge it away or restrict it away, that I was able to be in that place of sadness and was able to return back to a place of joy after letting the sadness live and processing it appropriately. That for me is absolutely huge. This may be typical for some people, and this is the typical way that we're meant to experience and process emotions. Someone explained emotions to me one time as being like lights in a car, like warning lights on a car. And that God has kind of given us emotions to be kind of like our warning lights. And what would happen if, the fuel light came on in your car and you kind of just put a piece of tape over it and kept driving? And then the engine light came on and you just put a piece of tape and you kept ignoring and stuffing, pretending that they didn't happen or not attending to them and not listening to those warning lights. And what would happen is you would have a massive, accident or destruction of the car, possibly of yourself or whatever. And that's what happens to me emotionally when through all sorts of different ways, and particularly through destructive patterns of disordered eating. It's kind of like my way of putting tape over the warning signals that are my emotions. And so for me, a huge part of this healing process is learning how to actually feel those feelings and then what to do with them. If I feel them, what do I do with them to not be completely overwhelmed by them, but to actually go through a process where I can process the feelings and come back to a better resting state of peace and joy and rest. So this is a really big deal to me. Do you know that this is actually, my understanding is that this is the number one predictor of mental health, is the brain's ability to quiet. There was a headline from an article in the UK that said that Liverpool University did a big study, and it revealed that rumination, or that idea of being stuck and always kind of ruminating or going over and over the same negative thing, is the biggest predictor of the most common mental health problems in the country. And this idea of, do we get stuck with these negative emotions, or do we have a way to be able to process them, let them run their course, listen to them like they are the warning light on our car, and actually do what they're instructing us to do in order to be cared for and to come back to that place of joy. So that was huge for me. And opening up to others was a really big part of being able to come back to that place of joy for me. First of all, on the opening up to others for me needs to, yes, it is for others, but I also need to be able to open up to myself and create some space for my own brain to just really feel some of those heavy things and actually process them without quickly getting busy or turning to food or something else to numb it and to make it go away. So spending time with myself was also very important today. Spending time with God is very important for me to bring those real raw emotions and feelings to Him, and then to have trusted, safe people. I have a particularly beautiful, trusted, safe person in my life that I was able to open up with today with some of these really difficult things. And the way that she came beside me, that she mirrored what I was feeling, that she attuned to my heart, that she saw me. I could tell that she was feeling what I was feeling together with me. It was so healing and helpful. And it reminded me of something that I read in this book. This is a book called How We Love, and it is by Mylan and Kay Yurkovich, and it is actually a marriage book, but it has tons and tons of great information about attachment imprints and basically those formative years when our brains were in kind of hyper development and we learned the way that we love, or the way that we act in relationships, are what's also known as our attachment styles, which was first brought by John Bowlby. But it talks about how our attachment styles play out, how they play out in relationships, particularly in the marriage relationship, and then some other fabulous things. But one thing that they talked about here is they talked about the idea of our attending to our emotional needs. So going back to that car analogy again, they have an analogy that as a car just needs fuel. But as a human, we have been designed by God to actually kind of have two tanks. And the one tank is that emotions tank, that tank that needs fuel. And that fuel can be those more positive deposits you may think of. It can be appreciation or respect or care, thoughtfulness, praise, all these different things that that we can receive from others, from God, from within ourselves, that really help to encourage us and enliven us and inspire us to keep going. The other tank, though, that they describe in this book was so helpful for me to read about, and they described it as like a compression chamber that needs periodically to have a release. And if it doesn't, of course, we know it can happen, and all of that that pressure turns inside with destructive results. But that compression chamber needs safe other people to come alongside us and to listen, so that we can actually process and get out so many of the whether it's stress, or whether it's experiences that we haven't worked through yet, fears, difficult emotions that we're feeling. It's getting the things that are on the inside and getting them on the outside to release some of that pressure. And that's what I was able to do with this beloved one today. And I'm so grateful for this person's ability to do that. And maybe we'll talk another day about where do you find these safe people. And so many people, so many of my friends who are in the counseling profession, and even me, and in the mentorship or different roles that I've had the privilege to play in people's lives, I cannot tell you how many times people have looked at me and said, or have looked at counselor friends and said, I have never shared ... this fill in the blank with anyone else before in my life. So many people are walking around, and I have done it for decades, have walked around holding so much pain and experiences and just unprocessed stuff that needs that release valve. And we not only need to learn how to open our release valve and let that release out, but also how do we stay present to other people's pain when their valve is being released? How do we help them release it? And how do we stay present and attuned and available to them in a way that is going to help them to have that release, and that isn't going to actually cause the release valve to shut, and maybe even more pressure to build up in the chamber. So maybe we'll talk about that another day, about both how to find safe people, what a safe person acts like, and how to be safe people for other people in that way. So the N and the O were great today. What I noticed in terms of understanding the cycle and remembering that, I can get caught up in the cycle anytime, is that there was some really big feelings that came up that hit in a very core way. and that there was definitely the temptation to turn to food, and particularly to turn to food for the rest that my body was desiring in order to process and heal from some of the just the intensity of having all of those emotions in my body. So I definitely noticed that I took extra helpings that were not necessary, and that after meals I was craving sweet things. By God's grace, I was able to stay away from sugar or things that would have, really spiked my insulin levels. Oh, I'm tired. I'll go to sleep right after this. So all went well today, but I was very aware of the fact that I could have got swept up back into that cycle. And I did reach out to my accountability partner, who's the one who checks in specifically with me in terms of how I'm eating. And she recommended cilantro, which of course you know that I'm loving right now. So that was very good. Rewiring my brain. I had to be very intentional with this today because of some of the large emotions that I was experiencing. So I did something called a self-nurture exercise, which used to not work for me at all. And the first time I did it, it actually made me feel very awkward and uncomfortable, but I'm getting better at it. So I had my exercise and my walk again outside. Thank God it was a beautiful day, vibrant green, sunshine, warm on my shoulders. So it was almost like, that was God's kind of physical touch on my body today. And then I was able to take my hand, put it right on the skin of my chest, and just hold it there. Take some really nice deep cleansing breath. Feel that kind of skin on skin, and that I often hold a lot of the anxiety in my chest, and was able to feel my hand there kind of as a calming presence, and was able to speak some comforting words to that place of pain that was really being triggered or hurting today. So that was helpful. Of course, you know that I love the half smiles. And the way that can just get the neurotransmitters in our brain firing and helping to send messages that we need, some of those more happy, joyful neurochemicals to start getting pumping through our veins. So that was, or through our brain, I should say. So that was really good to do some half smiles, some nourishing touch. I didn't have anyone around me physically today. The people that I was able to meet with were virtual. So even just having my own hands on my chest was helpful today. The other big thing for me, as I mentioned it before, some of Dr. Gordon Neufield's work really talk about how releasing and healing and nourishing tears are, and I have a very difficult time accessing my tears. But another big win for me today was that the tears came out in the face of this pain, and I think one of the reasons was because I was able to do it alone, and I think just all this work that we've been doing together about noticing and processing emotions, the tears actually were able to come out a little bit. So that was really special. I don't know, does that sound crazy that I cried today? Yay! But I did. I cried today. Yay! I'm very, very thankful for that. Insulin resistant eating, again, I did have, or insulin friendly eating, I should say. I did, I was able to nourish well all the way from the morning through to the evening. And again, slightly bigger quantities than I think was necessary, and that left me feeling energetic and bright. But I'm grateful today, 2 months ago, today would have been me and the 7-Eleven and a potentially very, very, very negative scenario. Sleep went better last night, and tonight I am filming much earlier than normal, so I will be ready to head to bed right after, and I'm very glad for that, the sleep. And of course, the one night that I actually get to sleep early, and one of my daughters was up at 5 a.m. so like singing in the shower. So so hopefully tonight I'll not only get to sleep early, but also wake up early. So we'll see. Hydration was not great today. I was out and about and distracted processing a lot of these more internal things and neglected to drink a lot. And the other thing is I was really reminded today For me, the hydration is key because of the way that it helps me to hopefully one day get to a place where my hunger cues will work more accurately, as well as helps my digestion, which can be a major problem for me and then makes me feel bloated, and that can be a whole spiral of other things. But I was reminded of the statistics today of how hydration can really be a burden and trip people up who are obsessing about food and body image, and how many, perhaps some of you listening, perhaps have abused hydration in order to try to mask your hunger cues, trying to drink in order not to be hungry, in order to help yourself restrict, or others who have gone to not hydrate because they don't want what appears to them as being bloating when they do. And yeah, my heart was just so sad to be reminded that even something as pure and holy and nourishing as water can be a stumbling block for those of us who just get trapped in our heads with the obsession and with the disease of the eating disorder. And so if you are trapped in those kind of things where even your water intake is a source of scrutiny or shame or pain for you, then I really want to encourage you to reach out to a trusted loved one, a professional, a dietitian, someone who could help you navigate that. Because so often when we get in that place of feeling trapped in our own brains, being trapped to the disordered eating cycles, it's just so difficult to even see what is nourishing, what is appropriate, what our body actually needs. So I really want to encourage you to be brave and to have the courage that it takes to reach out and to find support in those areas. Exercise, again, just was beautiful today. And I did notice today that I decided to walk uphill today. And I noticed just this glimmering thought of, oh, you can go harder, you can go more. And I have to remember that for me, exercise needs to be something that is healthy in terms of working my heart and my lungs, but that is energizing and healthy, and that doesn't get to a point for me of pushing me into adrenal gland fatigue, because that's something that I have totally shot the function of my adrenal glands by just going too hard on every aspect. So for me, learning moderation is very important, especially in the realm of exercise. And so, yeah, help me watch that, where I can do, get something a little bit more strenuous in order to give my heart and lungs a good workout, but not to push to the fact where I'm being a burden and a drain on my body and not nourishing it appropriately. So my reward, probably as always, but my reward I wrote is to live the hope of living a vibrant life in which I experience true joy and true peace, and that I can be a source of God's joy and peace for others. So it is my hope and prayer that these videos are helping to express that joy and peace and love to you. And I hope that you have a wonderful day and a nourishing day. And if you messed up, or if you are not living in the values or in the ways that you hope to, then I just want to encourage you to keep going, to wake up and try again, to reach out to others, and to let this community walk with you. And I really hope to see you again tomorrow.